Not yet.
Good evening and welcome to the business meeting of December 11th, 2025. We are being led by the pledge this evening by the championship cheerleading team.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Great job.
Very good. Flawless. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to open it up for public comments on agenda items. Not seeing any. We're going to, the treasurer's report for October is available in the business office, and we are going to move to the consent agenda. Mr. Oliverio?
Resolved to approve the consent agenda items 2 through 10 as presented to the board at this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments?
The consent agenda includes approval of minutes, approval of updates to the substitute listing for the school year, CSE, CPSE placements, approval or rescinding unpaid work hours or additional work hours for various staff members. This one includes postseason fall stipends, 2 extended unpaid leave of absences, and we're rescinding the previously approved unpaid days off for a staff member at their request. We're revising the 25-26 school year calendar to move the March 19th Superintendent's Conference Day to Friday, March 20th. March 19th will become a regular school day. Amending the location date of the approved wrestling overnight trip, which is turning it into a better opportunity for more athletes to participate. Approving the universal pre-K program with the YMCA for this school year. Approving budget transfers over $25,000 for the period November 11th through December 9th. And approving the spring 2026 coaches and stipends and 1 winter 25-26 volunteer coach.
Thank you, Mrs. Bellino. Are there any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolutions pass. Okay, we are going to do, we haven't done this in a while, it's so exciting. Recognition, Pride in Putnam Valley. Dr. Luff?
All right, good evening, everyone. So we gather here this evening with some exciting news to celebrate. Our game day cheerleading team, the state champions. So give them a round of applause right now. So I think it's fair to say, and I'm sure I'll get criticized for this, but this is officially the most successful athletic team in Putnam Valley school history. All right, they've won 2 of state championships in the last 3 years, with a second place finish in between, 0.2 points off the mark. So I think by far the most successful team we've had in Putnam Valley High School history, and we are thrilled that they are here this evening to be recognized. They've sort of been on the tour to the elementary school, to the middle school, performances, champion of Breakfast of Champions this morning, and we couldn't be more thrilled to have them honored here. I know escorted in and out of town by the Putnam Valley Fire Department. We want to make sure that these accolades are very well celebrated. So I would like to extend my congratulations. I know there's a couple other individuals that are going to say a few words, and then we're going to hand out some awards. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that 2 of our very own student board reps are also on the team. That's why they're hiding over there and not in their normal seats. So I'll invite up our athletic director, Mr. Rob Webb, to say a couple words. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I would like to begin by thanking Dr. Luft and the Board of Education for recognizing our exceptional cheerleading program this evening. I am incredibly proud to celebrate our New York State champion game day cheerleading. This marks, as Dr. Luft said, their 2nd state championship in the last 3 seasons, which is an extraordinary achievement that brings immense pride to our community. This success reflects far more than a winning routine. It's a result of their dedication, discipline, and countless hours of hard work, both on and off the mat. This team is truly a model program, demonstrating excellence not just on the mat, but also in the classroom, as they've earned a Scholar Athlete recognition from the New York State Public High School Athletic Association this fall. This accomplishment is a testament to the hard work of the athletes, but also the continuous support of their families, and especially their dedicated coaches. Please join me in welcoming the coaches of our state championship program, Kelly Wilson, Nicole Dodona, and Joe Dodona.
We just want to say thank you for everyone for recognizing us, especially the fire department for our welcome home. That was a little crazy. We didn't realize how many fire trucks we had. But also to the girls, we are extremely proud of you. And you had one goal this season, and you went above and beyond for it. And the hard work you do every day, and in the wellness center, you keep pushing. Like even into this winter season, like you guys are doing great things. So keep it up. Yeah, I'm waiting for that. So when your name's called, just come on up to Dr. Luft. Maria Argeru. Naomi Bibiano. Kaylee Borchek. Kylie Bowe. Eliana Broccolo. Jolyn Castro. Alyssa Grippo, who's at dance. Ava Jacobson. Francesca Kennedy. Nina Lamont. Sierra Marulas. Isabella Monahan. The next two aren't here, but I see the name. Madeline Monier. Ava Petrillo. Savannah Quick. Angelina Ramo. Savannah Simmons. Anaya Tisdale. Vienna Totita. Sienna Zatoli. Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, they have to come, yeah.
It's outstanding.
Congratulations. Very proud of you guys.
Great job, everybody.
Congratulations. You can go. It's okay.
Thank you.
You're going to miss the data presentation.
Bar graphs galore.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Can't believe they
Bye-bye.
don't want to stay for the data presentation.
I know.
Oh, my God.
All right.
Huh? Okay. And we still have people in the audience. This is great. They didn't all leave. And we thank you girls for staying. So,
They were like, we had a choice.
huh?
I said they were like, we had a choice.
You always matter.
They always have a choice, but we're always pleased to
100%
see
of the
them.
time.
Okay, our first presentation tonight is a data presentation that we've been asking and waiting for with bated breath. Dr. Luft, do you want to introduce this topic?
Sure. So we're going to begin with our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction, Ms. Jackie Levine. We'll get started. I know she'll be joined by some of her administrative colleagues as she goes through. So welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Luft, and good evening. Board of Education, Putnam Valley community, parents, teachers, administrators, and anyone watching this evening. It is my honor and privilege to be able to celebrate and share our data for our 24-25 assessment school year. At the end of every school year, we take a host of assessments, from state assessments to global assessments, and we're going to be talking about the results from those assessments and how that data informs our instruction and our planning for the school year. So I'm just going to dive right into it. I will be joined by my incredible colleagues, our principals for each building, as well as our K-12 instructional specialist, Rob Lathrop, this evening. So I look forward to welcoming and introducing him to all of you today. So the purpose of our presentation tonight is to share the assessments that we take, our proficiency of the Putnam Valley Central School District students, grades 3 through 12, and what that means in different capacities depending on the assessments we're looking at, our glows and our grows, areas for growth and places where we're focusing in to improve proficiency, and of course what we are doing specifically to improve proficiency. I want to start us off with how we compare in our grades 3 through 8 in ELA and math across the region. The charts you see in front of you are comparing us to the 18 school districts of Putnam, Northern Westchester, BOCES. These districts are including Chappaqua, Peekskill, Briarcliff, Ossining, North Salem, Haldane, Garrison, Brewster, Carmel, etc. So any school district that is really within our area, the 18 school districts of the Putnam, Northern Westchester, BOCES. This is how Putnam Valley compares to the Putnam, Northern Westchester region in both ELA and math, but you'll see at the top that we also have some really fabulous news to share about our school district for each building, but in particular, you'll notice that our elementary school is in the top 3% of all New York State elementary schools, which is a huge accomplishment. Our middle school is in the top 24% of this same news report, U.S. News Report, and our high school is in the top 19% of all New York State public high schools. So that is really something to be very proud about, considering the type of schools that we are being compared to. New York has some of the best education there is, and not to mention, these lists also include charter schools as considered public schools. So just to put that out there, that this is all public schools in our New York State area, and that's where we stand here in Putnam Valley. This chart here compares us to the lower Hudson region. That includes Putnam, Northern Westchester, BOCES, Southern Westchester, and I believe Rockland as well, if not also Orange County, but definitely Rockland. So this is a much larger group of districts that we're being compared to, and again, districts that are included in this catchment area includes Scarsdale, Eastchester, Mount Vernon, Rye, many districts across the lower Hudson Valley. So that is, again, where Putnam Valley stands, where on the left, our colorful chart, again, this is 3 through 8, third grade through 8th grade, compared to the lower Hudson region in both ELA and math. So based on the data that we're going to see tonight, district-wide, there are some changes and developments that we've been working on. Some of these are ongoing. You've heard us speak about them before, like the writing continuum work we are doing to streamline and align our writing practices and raise expectations for writing across the board. But then there are new developments this school year. For instance, we've added a K-12 instructional specialist who you'll meet shortly, Rob Lathrop, who is a high school teacher, but he also supports many teachers around the region, and he's going to go around the district, and he's going to talk a little bit about the work he's been doing specifically in certain areas and groups. We have added a second ENL teacher to our middle school, creating a comprehensive ENL program in every building. Students receive, at the very least, the minimum supports that they require, and then some. So we've been able to increase the amount of support we're providing, and that's going to matter in a few slides when I show you our ENL proficiency data and how wonderful that is. And then we also have taken a real hard look at our culture and discipline. We've brought Dr. Holly in to work with our colleagues on cultural responsiveness and how to support students in all ways. ways, including their social emotional ways. We have a committee that's working on culture and discipline. We meet regularly. We have revised our mentoring and induction plan. We have a new mentoring plan that we worked over the summer with our head building mentors to develop. It's a 4-year induction program that includes intensive learning in something called Studying Skillful Teacher in Year 2. All Year 2 teachers that are going through their tenure process will be studying with a master teacher from our own district, trained and prepared to deliver the Skillful Teacher framework to these teachers. So our untenured teachers are going to get increased support. The 3rd year will be made up of IB and literacy training to really deepen their knowledge of best literacy practices and best IB framework practices, the ATLs and the learner profiles, so that they truly understand the initiatives and the work we do here in Putnam Valley and our guiding principles. We are focusing on our co-teaching teams, especially at the secondary level. And this March, for Superintendent Conference Day, we're bringing in consultants to work with our secondary co-teaching teams. That will be a focus area for the spring and going forward into next school year. We have aligned our math instruction. We've spoken about this before in other presentations. We've adopted the Eureka curriculum now K-8. All teachers K-8 are using Eureka to support our math because we've had such success with it in all of our other grade levels that have been using it. So 7th and 8th grade are currently in year 1. Last year we consider year 0 because it's the year we adopt the program. They're unpacking it for the first time. They're diving into the lessons. They're getting the materials. They're figuring out what those materials are, the scope and sequence, matching it to what they do. So this is year 1 where they've done that work, but they're still learning, they're still implementing, and they're still tweaking. We have also fully 512 implemented IB work. We are working on authorization in our high school. We've just started with the candidacy work we've begun, and we have a coordinator there, Kat Schutz, who's been working with our teachers to develop their units. So that's happening in 9-10 now, but we are an authorized school at the middle school, and we are also authorized as a DP program. We're an IB World School in our high school. And we have, of course, had targeted professional learning in literacy, science, and math. Those are some of our growth areas you'll see tonight in our data. And we have done a lot of work investing in literacy, especially in the science of reading programs that I know Margaret will be eager to talk a little bit about later tonight, but also in our middle school as well. So we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing at the secondary level to focus on that work. In addition, I'll talk a little bit about the science work, especially that our science teachers have been undertaking in all grade levels, middle school, 4th grade to 5th grade, science teachers collaborating together, but also at the high school level where our teachers are currently attending workshops on those new investigations for the regions and learning about how to implement those investigations and prepare for the new regions. So that's where things stand, K-12, in terms of the changes and developments that have taken place to address some of the areas that we'll talk about tonight in our data. And now I would like to turn it over to introduce you to Rob Lathrop, who is our K-12 instructional specialist, who's going to speak tonight a little bit about the work he's been doing and how he sees development in the areas we've been talking about of the work he's doing.
Walk around here. Hey everybody, I'm Rob Lathrop, and I'm learning how to use a microphone. Okay. Hey. Hi, it's really exciting to be here with you all. I appreciate the chance to get to come explore some of the work that we've been developing this year in this new role for the district. It's been incredibly invigorating to get to work with all these awesome teachers who I've known for so long, but now I'm getting to work with in a different capacity. It's just been really exciting. So thanks for all the support we've gotten. I'm looking forward to a lot more. So the plan for tonight, I just have a quick little snapshot of the kind of approach that we've been taking with the instructional specialist role. Like a little bit of a dive into one particular project that's kind of representative of the work that we've been doing, and then just a quick survey of some of the projects that have been undergone. So here we go. So actually, one of the things I do want to mention, the instructional stuff that we do develop has to be contextually driven. So a lot of things that we come up has to be situated in the classroom and in the building and for that teacher. So it's not like a one-stop shop. So in that this is part of a data presentation, I kind of want to situate this discussion in that data role. So one of the things that we're working on is broadening what we use as data to inform our instruction. So in addition to standardized testing, what other kinds of data are we using? We're also trying to take a much deeper dive at like a more granular level, the kinds of exploration and investigation of data that can really, really deeply inform the instruction rather than just sort of like the broad brushstrokes that we sometimes only have the time to do. So with that in mind, quick overview. The move is to work in all 3 buildings in all subjects. The teachers are driving the instruction based upon things they're seeing in the classroom and data that they're getting in any number of capacities. Pretty much typically we identify some meaningful student learning need and goal. Once we've established that, we explore the teacher experiences around that. What are we doing that's working? What can we shift? What do we already know? There's a ton of knowledge already in the classroom, already in the building, so how can we build on those funds of knowledge that are currently present? In addition, we want to support that understanding with the academic literature that is out there. So I get to dive through all the stacks and do a ton of research and then sort of try to repackage it in a way that's more like pragmatic for us. So like translating theory into practice to a certain degree. Once we understand that, we develop some teaching and learning practices addressing that initial need and goal, but not just that particular goal. Really, the idea is to contribute to the broader teaching and learning culture of Putnam Valley. So that's sort of a quick overview of that. The approach that we've been taking is developing. It happens through emails, individual meetings, conversations in the hallway, big multi-team meetings. So there's a lot of things ways that it is happening. One particular project we thought that would be helpful to demonstrate some of the work that we're doing is this question analysis project. It's happening in all 3 buildings in different ways. It's cross-building. Some of it's oriented to building, some of it's individually centered. It's interdisciplinary, that it's across different subjects. What we thought was really important about analyzing questions is pretty much whoever asks the question is sort of running the show. And if you're a student and you get to ask that question, you're sort of driving the learning. And so we thought that would be a productive way to kind of dive into instructional exploration. So one of the things that we do want to consider is how much agency are our students having in their learning. So around that sort of premise, where we took a look into, at the elementary school, a group reached out and they said, hey, we want to look at some of the testing data and the ELA from New York State, which they crushed, right? So they did great. So let's see why they did great. And so when we looked into it, we said it might be really productive also to bridge over into the math discipline as well, because these kids are taking those tests across both areas. So what we did was actually started to break it down at a very, very fine-grained level by looking at the question stems in the ELA and math and see if there's any correlation in how the kids were doing with regard to the question stems. And it seemed to be that one of the areas that we want to continue to support them in is in the area of transference of understanding. The kids are understanding something at a great level, but when there's a transferring opportunity, that's an area that we can probably get a little bit better. I mean, they're doing phenomenally, but that's an area we'd like to kind of help support all our learners in all the buildings. And when we talk about transference, we can really take a deep dive. There's near transfer, where the understanding is a very closely related concept, but the thing that's challenging most students is when you transfer an understanding far. So when we switch the context, there can be a little bit of a uphill climb for everybody. So we're developing some instructional approaches to that as we move through. These big projects, they take time, and they take investment from everybody. So that's been really, really exciting and eye-opening for me, as I've lived at the high school forever. I knew how hard they worked, but it's a little bit humbling to see the elementary school work happening. At the middle school, we are also doing some question analysis. This came from the 7th and 8th grade math teachers. They said the kids are coming in with 1,000,001 questions the minute they walk into class. And we said, well, let's take a look at those kinds of questions. So these are student-generated questions. So we did a bunch of research around how do we sort of categorize the math questions. And we learned that there's 1,000,001 ways to do it. However, we kind of recognized that there's the verification question, application question, and then the complex question. And so they just decided, we're going to watch each other teach and write down the questions that the kids are asking. So that we put them into categories, and we're meeting, sort of unpacking what we're seeing. And their goal is to help shift the questions from more of that beginning verification land to the more complex level where you're doing connections, looking for causality and interpreting. That's where we want to move toward. That's what they're driving that. And I'm just helping as much as I can in that regard. At the high school, there's also a question analysis project that drifted over from the middle school into the science department, largely in physics, and it's moving from there. This one is the teachers looking into students questions as well, but she's really trying to understand the connections between the tasks that we assign students, the questions that we ask students, and then that impact on the questions that they generate themselves. So we're looking into that kind of thing. That's drifted into a bunch of different places, and people are kind of joining on that project. So that's really, really like super inspiring. So that's just one project of a range. We have kind of like 15 to 20 of like that. One major one that we worked on and we're continuing to work on is the 5th grade science. It's been really exciting to have people from 4th and from the elementary school and the middle school join together to see how things are working, programmatic discussions. We took a deep dive into some of the data. We've done some research around the kinds of things that help support learners in the area. Like these are big multi-building kinds of moves, and the dedication is like remarkable that has been happening. And so we're learning quite a bit around the kinds of things that we can continue to do to support the kids in that arena. We also have an inquiry learning project where people are kind of starting to see that there's basically 2 frameworks around inquiry learning. There's those who are inquiring to learn, like we kind of ask a question to learn about a topic. Then there's the learning to inquire, and how often that happens we're wondering. So like when you learn to inquire within art or music, it may be different to a certain degree than when you're learning to inquire in a math or English setting. So they're exploring that. There's a really sort of like on-the-ground, hands-oriented, connecting multiple programs in a grade level. Some grade levels, they have multiple programs of juggling. It's incredible. How do we sort of sort that out? There's a really fun Veteran Insights project. Those are the people that, unlike me, they're at the sort of the retirement end of the employment continuum. And so on their way out, we're like, hey, can we steal as much of your wisdom as we can before you abandon us? So we're meeting and discussing some of their insights around teaching and learning. There's a group that's really excited about experiential learning, so we've been able to send them to different places. And then there's also those who are just like at the classroom level, working on redesigning their lesson structure to help anticipate some of the student needs prior to the lesson so that we can prepare and create some avenues for student success prior to the lesson. As well as creating opportunities for kids to have more processing moments in class, because there's so much like cognitive load that all the kids are juggling. Like, how do we build in opportunities for kids who process at all different rates and levels and depths to have that chance to do that? So there's a lot more, but that's all I have time for. Going forward, we're hoping to continue to collaborate with everybody on these projects, and I kind of want to find a better way to connect everybody to all these projects that are happening, the resources and the plans, and so that's their plan going forward. And everybody else had a color on there, like a very fancy slide, so I put a little chart, just I wanted to fit in. So that's one of the charts from one of the student analysis questions. I think this one's I picked from the math one. So we have our verification, application, and the complex questions. So that's that. So yeah, okay, thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Research tells us that teachers learn best collaborating with one another and learning from one another. And so you can see why someone like Rob Lathrop is excellent for this type of role. Not only is he flexible, malleable, eager to learn, and curious about all the different grade levels, but he has such a great grasp on learning and learning science and understanding what it takes to really move learning forward. And his role is primarily pedagogical. Instructional. It is not about choosing curriculum programs. It is not about choosing materials, although he may recommend something to someone. He is truly about what is happening in the classroom, what are the instructional moves teachers are making or need to make, and what data can we gather to inform that and improve that. So cheers to Rob. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Rob. All right. Another K-12 item I want to just share before we get into each building's individual data is our data about our ENL students and how our demographics have shifted, and yet what our data is about those students and their proficiency levels. So we have had a large increase, and currently these are our numbers down at the bottom. So this is our population of students, but you can see over time the increase that has occurred in Putnam Valley schools. However, on our NICESLAT scores, you'll notice that a majority of our students are in the transitioning to commanding, which means their proficiency with the English language is high. And our students are not always taking this assessment the first year they come to us. That means it really is due to a lot of the work we're doing here. So students may enter the country, this may be their first year here with us, they don't take this test at the end of that year, but they may take the test at the end of the following year. And so our scores are showing that the work our teachers are doing with these students is phenomenal. And just a few points to make about this ENL work and why things like the board approving that second ENL teacher is so important for us to have a strong ENL program in each building. These are the types of gains that we are making in our schools. About 85% of our students are in that higher transition, expanding or commanding phases of the proficiency, and only a small percentage of our students are at the entering or emergent proficiency rates. So these are just very important data points to note because it says we are doing tremendous things with our ENL student population. So even though our demographics are shifting, it's not having a significant impact on our overall data in ELA. Okay. I would like to invite up Dr. Margaret Podesta, who's an absolute joy to work with every day and such an amazing, incredible leader. She's going to talk a little bit, brag a little bit about the elementary data.
Hi, everyone. Here's a picture of the bubble bus because you have to start on a high note, right? And we like to make Mr. Oliverio happy. I'm happy to be here tonight, and it's always a pleasure to talk about the work that we're doing at the elementary school and the results we're getting with our student growth and progress. This first slide shows grade 3 from last year, the ELA assessment. They did a phenomenal job. Our teachers, our students, our entire support staff who worked together so well to bring these students to these high levels where you see such a high majority of students scoring a 3 or 4 proficiently on the ELA test. So this takes a lot of work. We've come a long way in the past 10 to 13 years, and I give kudos to our faculty. They're always ready to learn, always ready to stay current with what's available to us and do the research to find out what will work even better. So this is a good time to not brag, but celebrate the work that we're doing, always looking to grow. We don't take that top 3% in New York State of elementary schools. We don't take that lightly. A lot goes behind that with professional development, with support from the Board of Education, our administration, materials at our fingertips, and the faculty that we have that is so skilled. And here we have our grade 4 superstars from last year with the majority in the level 3 and level 4 area on their ELA exam. The 3rd graders last year still took paper and pencil. Our 4th graders, this was the first time that they were taking it on the computer, which is a different experience, you know, learning to highlight, learning to underline, learning to go back and look at the text for evidence on the computer. So we always probably don't give our students enough credit with technology because they've grown up with it, but they're showing us that they can still perform as well, really well. Math as well, we have a very strong math program. We've been using the Eureka curriculum for years now. Our professional development with that started us off extremely strong, and that made all the difference with our teachers who were relearning math themselves and learning the strategies and the number sense. This carries over into problem solving, real life mathematics, and just understanding how numbers work. So this was our grade 3. Really very strong in the region and in the state, and grade 4 as well. So what this shows, of course, is the percentage of students scoring a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. We're always aiming for that 3, and you know me, I'm aiming for that 4. And many students are really showing us that they are able to do this and show proficiency and be ready for the next grade level. While we're celebrating, we're always looking to grow, to improve, and to provide our students with what we can as far as academic progress. So exciting. We've had our first UPK program join us this year on campus. That's exciting for us as a school. We have these little Putnam Valley residents who are in a nursery school that is basically attached to our elementary school. They've been joining us for assemblies. They've been joining us for special events like book fairs and picture day and parades in the school. So can you imagine those students who are getting acclimated to their elementary school already joining us as students? We have similar curriculum materials, we have similar classroom setups, our teachers are talking to each other, we sometimes share snack supplies, so we're just really working collaboratively with them. We're so happy that they're here. Their arrival and dismissal do not interfere with our day, and we really welcome them to most events that we can, so that's exciting. We also have had a literacy curriculum review committee begin, where we have a team of teachers from multi-grades really digging deeply into what we're doing with the science of reading, what we're doing with the materials that we have to work with our students, and where any gaps might exist. So far, as we follow the Reading League guidelines, we're not seeing that many gaps at all, and when we do, we usually have something that's already filling it. So it's not just scholastic literacy, but it's the Hegarty program, it's foundations, it's Wordly Wise, it's Scholastic alone wouldn't even do it for us because of all that's required with the science of reading, but we do have a heavy small group instruction program with Scholastic. We also have a very deep and firm phonics program, word work study program, and building vocabulary. We have ongoing professional development with the Writing Revolution. I give a lot of credit to Mrs. Carrie Burdett, who's taken on this leadership role in literacy in our building. We have many teachers who are quite skilled with the Writing Revolution strategies that supports the writing not only with Scholastic, but writing across the content areas. And we're finding that to be an excellent approach to learning writing and the growing sophistication in writing that we're seeing in the elementary school. Some of you may remember our first graders in the spring sharing their own writing, ending with the word clearly very often as they sum up their work in first grade. We have quarterly team data meetings where teachers meet with our AIS team and administration. We go over where students are growing, where some might need extra support, even for a little while. So we take a close look at that data as a team, support students where we can and where they fit into different levels of support in the building, sometimes just in their classroom during an intervention block that we use for support and enrichment. And so this close look at data as a professional view makes all the difference for these students. We have a very heavy focus right now on Tier 2 academic vocabulary. We're talking about question stems, we're talking about transfer of information. And think about it though, if you're reading a question and you're in third grade and there are words such as infer, compare, evidence, words that aren't necessarily vocabulary tied to science or math specifically, but tied to understanding the English language. This is Tier 2 academic vocabulary. We've started to bring back introduction of a word in my morning announcements. Teachers are working even on Monday at the professional learning hour on how they can integrate academic vocabulary with a more explicit approach through all the content areas in writing, reading, conversation. And of course, we grow academic vocabulary by reading as well. So there's a big focus on that to help us in all areas. We also are bringing more exposure to higher level multiple choice questions, so it's not just they read, they understand, we can talk about it, but how do you approach multiple choice? When we look at the data, many of these children were able to answer multiple choice questions by process of elimination, going back to the text, finding information to support their thinking. This is a skill, it's not an automatic thing. We really do teach these young children how to do this, and we're focusing more on it now. We've been meeting with the middle school a bit to discuss writing, science growth, expectations. Elementary principals had a great talk about the 5th grade science test just last week at our BOCES meeting. And this is a challenge right now because we really want to teach that hands-on science. We want to teach inquiry and conversation. And we also need to teach them the skills for the paper and pencil, or I should say computer-based test. Highly structured, efficient RTI process. We are so proud of our RTI process in the elementary school. My past few assistant principals have all taken this work seriously with me. Excuse me. And so the forms have become more revised, more efficient. We are not meeting just to meet. We are meeting to discuss the progress of students and how we can support them efficiently. And we're looking at data and the appropriate instruction that goes along with it. The word study and phonics review is a very important part of our ELA program. We have teaching assistants who support that work as well. And so it's not only the reading and math AIS teachers, the classroom teachers, but we have skilled teaching assistants who work with small groups and who continue to progress the students in their reading skills. We are, as a team, looking at and examining a universal screener for our students, which would give us more information to go along with iReady. And I think we are needing that, especially in our lower grades, to serve our students best. So that's a work in progress. Thank you.
Margaret?
I'm
Sorry.
Take
a drink of water first, and then I have a question. I have a question regarding your refusals. Have you seen them decrease over the years?
We basically have no refusals in the elementary school, less than 10 in the whole school.
Right, great.
And I'm happy to say that.
Year, usually. Okay.
And it's a huge change from a few years ago. Yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Podesta. I'd like to invite up now, we have both Travis McCarty and Jamie Zecca, who Jamie can come up if she'd like. She doesn't have to, she could just stay. But Travis will be sharing a little bit about the data from the middle school, but I just do want to also say, before we dive into the data, how very proud I am of the amazing work done by our middle school in multiple places, but in particular, the challenge of bringing on the middle years program and how hard they have worked to develop really amazing, beautiful units, align them to standards, and still take state assessments. They have done tremendous work. I'm so proud, and I'm so proud to share that they are still outperforming a majority of the region in a lot of areas. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. McCarty and Ms. Zecca to talk a little bit about that wonderful data.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. We're starting off with a wonderful picture of our middle school, built in 1972. We do have our students up on the hill. This was First Responders Day. There was actually a helicopter in the outfield of the baseball field, so our students are up here waiting for it to take off. So they were very excited to be on the edge of the field to see that event, and thank you for all those that came for that day. So I've already reported a bit on this during our opening of schools presentation, but we're going to revisit these areas. So 5th grade here, these are our ELA results. And as you can see, 68.9% were proficient, levels 3 and 4. And as Dr. Podesta said, our goal is always to reach level 3. And of course, we're very excited for our level 4s. And our challenge always seems to be those students that are on the cusp, because they move that scale score every year. So a student may miss it by one question and fall into a 2. So we're always looking at those students with regards to academic intervention services in the areas of reading for our ELA, and in the areas of math as well. These are our 6th grade ELA results, and our 6th grade continues to be of high performing in this area, 81.8 proficiency, and as you can see, the majority of our students are levels 3 and 4 with 6 refusals. Our 7th grade, We are at a 65.1% proficiency with 18 refusals, and we're aiming for those level 3s and those level 4s. We had a few more students on the cusp here with level 2, but again, those students that are identified do receive academic intervention services. And finally, for 8th grade, we have a 67.8% proficiency, levels 3 and 4, and 18 refusals at the 8th grade. And I know there was a question about refusals. We actually see it's quite an interesting phenomenon that you observe over time with middle school students. When they come over to middle school in 5th and 6th grade, and then they transition to 7th and 8th grade, some of these students have been taking these exams since 3rd grade, of course. And by the time they get to 7th and 8th grade, some of our 7th and 8th graders formulate their own idea that I don't need to take this assessment because it doesn't count on my report card, or I don't have to take this assessment because it's not a Regents course. So New York State has allowed those refusals since the beginning, and what I've always observed, even though we see a decrease in our refusals, we do see more of our refusals from our 7th and 8th graders, and sometimes we have some interesting conversations with those students as to the why. Some families, they've never taken that exam, and other families, by the time those students get to 7th and 8th grade, there's persuasive conversations amongst the students to say, well, I can just refuse it that day, and then they read a book. So again, we see 18 students refusing here in 8th grade.
Travis?
Sure, Sam.
I noticed in 5th grade there were 23 refusals. Is this refusal phenomena popping back up, do you think?
And the question also, 6th grade, there were only 6.
Yeah. Say it again?
Last year's population in the 5th grade was at our highest rate. We had over 100.
Microphone, please.
Give her the mic.
Sorry, I talked to the mic. Nobody could hear.
We have the most kids in 5th grade last year in the building.
Okay.
So it's our largest class.
So percentage-wise, it would not impact as much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so our smallest group this year is in
Thank you,
7th
Jamie.
grade. So last year they were in 6th grade. But that largest group is at, I think, 139 this year.
Okay.
So it kind of goes along with the number of students in the grade, although we would love to see that refusal rate drop. I will tell you, there's a big transition from elementary school to middle school. Grade-wise, they're on a 4-point rubric with grades, and in the middle school, they're on percentages. So that transition for families going from a rubric score to a percentage score is a change. And of course, they're checking Power School daily, you know, and they definitely give us feedback as to their progress. But again, that transition is definitely exists.
Thank you.
So jumping to math, in 5th grade last year, we're at a 70.3% proficiency, and as you can see, we see more level 3s and level 4s, and a few students on the cusp. Math in grade 6, we're at an 85.7% proficiency, and again, 10 refusals, and significant growth in those areas of 3 and 4. Grade 7, 73.4% proficiency, 18 refusals. And grade 8 at 53.4% proficiency, but I will share with you, this does not include our Algebra 1 students. So out of a grade level of 110 students, 50 of our students, so half of those students take Algebra 1, and we had 100% passing rate in Algebra 1 last year. So 100% of our kids passed that, and as I presented in our opening of schools, the average was an 85% for those students. And if you can see, we're really looking at half of the grade level here. So half of the grade level, we're seeing more 3s, a small percentage of 4s, but we are, as was mentioned earlier, we're in year 1 of Eureka Math for our 7th and 8th grade students. We have used Eureka Math in 5th and 6th grade in the past, but we're really diving more deeply into Eureka Math in 7th and 8th grade moving forward. So as you can see, we have a lot of tests in middle school. Now we're moving on to the science. And this is in 5th and 8th grade. You're going to see this actually compares us to BOCES. And we are just under the average for BOCES in 5th grade. And then in 8th grade, we're actually outperforming the Putnam Northern Westchester region. So we see 52% proficiency and then 62% proficiency. And our final slide on science, this actually just shows the progression from the year before to this year. So I know the board had asked, how many years has the science assessment been out? It's been out for 2 years. So on the left-hand side, it actually shows the 23-24 data. And on the right-hand side, it shows the 24-25 data. And we have shown improvement, which is what we're always gearing toward. And I know there are administrators in the room who have been attending meetings, including myself, with P&W BOCES, where they talk a little bit about Science 21 and what that offers our students. We also talk about the New York State assessment, and then we also talk about some of the new workbooks and materials that are coming out, and of course that topic of AI and who's actually assessing these exams. You need a whole board meeting to talk about the science exam. I'm not kidding. And I will tell you, it can be a little bit frustrating because we're teaching our kids to authentically analyze data and charts and graphs and maps and to give a full response. And if they're missing a keyword or they're missing a number, they will get 0 credit on that question. So it can be of great challenge to our kids, let alone our teachers who are analyzing these questions, who are looking. I've sat in these meetings and looked at some of the questions and I'm like, but I think that's the best answer, but it's not, and they chose this one. So 2 answers that are very closely, we've debated those questions, and these are 5th grade questions. And I would love to see some change moving forward. Like, since it's a computer-based exam, how come it's in black and white? It would just make more sense to me being in color, and certain things like that with images of, there was a comparison of dog breed and what were the characteristics that the children were supposed to take and analyze and say. So it's deep, and we will continue to look at this. Rob is a great asset to our community and working with our teachers. And I think the best part is, in the IB philosophy, is the process and then the reflection. So we're all risk takers right now, and we're all reflecting on the process. So it's not an easy exam. And kudos to the elementary school for meeting with us and having those discussions. I know Ms. Broas is also working with our science teachers as well.
I was going to ask you, have things started to meld nicely with the exam and the instruction itself? And it seems it still is not quite there yet.
Not quite there yet. We're going into year 3 now, and we're finding out more and more as we kind of peel back the layers. And I think it'll change and improve over time as assessments do, and then they'll change it on us again. So that once we get comfortable and we understand it and we master it, they change it on us.
I got you.
Study the history of education a little bit.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Yeah, sure.
So P&W BOCES is outperforming us. I'm wondering if it's likely because most times 5th grade is in the same building as the 3rd and 4th graders. I see that because our 5th graders are in another school, that it could be adding a different type of problem that, on top of an already difficult black and white test on the computer, what is being made, like what is being, I know that you said that you are collaborating school to school. What kind of collaboration is happening to bridge that gap? I'm just curious.
Sure. So the collaboration has been around the use of vocabulary and making a claim, and using, they talk about Ratadak and they talk about restating, but in our most recent meetings, we can do all these things, and then they're looking for a keyword, or they're looking for a number. So I think what it comes down to is the information may be on the page, and what we need to do is build that stamina with our students. If any of you in this room have children, their attention span is about 10 seconds. We used to say we can stand in front of a 6th grade class and talk for, they can hold your attention for 6 minutes. When we used to do that by kind of grade level, now their attention span with social media, with technology, is literally seconds. So kind of helping them build that stamina and look at all the data on the pages. Now, mind you also, this is on the computer.
Yeah.
So they're scrolling between pages to look at all this data and then put it all together to answer a multiple choice question or to type a claim. So it is a daunting task, but we're getting there.
Apologies for the interruption. I just want to clarify, we're actually outperforming PNW BOCES, even though it's only by 1% here for the 5th grade, but we are
Sorry,
actually...
I thought you said it was the opposite.
That's okay, no worries. Yep, we are actually doing better than the region, and we will continue to do so.
I also just want to add, as we uncover more about this science exam, I think the piece that we all recognized this week in this amazing meeting we had was that, number one, AI is grading these responses that have no partial credit. So it's like you get the point or you don't get the point.
Yeah.
And if the system is trained to be able to recognize a particular word or number or something from a chart, and the student is able to answer the question but does not mention that particular item, they will not get credit for that question. And so students on this past exam, this past year, answered the question correctly, but didn't get full credit for it because they didn't mention how they got that answer from a particular chart. And so it's very frustrating to teachers because they're teaching students to think. They're teaching students to analyze. They're teaching students to surmise and to be able to bring information together to create a response that makes sense, and they're still not getting the credit for it. So what we actually discovered is that we're teaching kids multiple skill sets, not just in test taking and in science and in thinking and critical thinking, but also in how to formulate a response that AI is going to recognize as correct, which is highly frustrating when you're really trying to be true to teaching content and teaching kids to think and not teaching to a test. So I would just encourage you by saying continue with the process, help kids learn science. Those investigations we talked about being invaluable, of making sure that they're having the experience of doing experiments and coming up with hypotheses and being able to prove those hypotheses wrong or not, and figuring out the science as they go is far more valuable than what this task is asking them to do.
Thank you for sharing your insight. We appreciate that. It's almost as if, and I hate to say this, it's almost as if the teachers need to start using AI to grade their science assessments in class so that the kids understand what AI is looking for. I'm sure we'll get to that day, but I don't think we're there yet.
It sounds frustrating, but I mean, and I do agree with Crystal, but if this is, if it's frustrating, why are we, like, why is it being done by AI? And if this is what is being done, if that's going to be in the future, then unfortunately, I mean, it sounds like you're doing the right things, identifying those words.
Yeah,
but
thank you.
just
And I will
sounds
tell you, the one thing that this has done, it's strengthened our collegial connections between the elementary school and the middle school to bring our teachers together to dive deeply into this work. And I love that because when you're faced with a problem or an issue, you solve it together. And I think that's what's drawing us together on this.
Good.
For sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Do you want to discuss the changes and developments before I talk about 6th grade or after?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me talk first and then we'll talk about 6th grade.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yep.
All right. So some of the changes and developments across the building. Number one, I just want to recognize my assistant principal, Jamie Zecca. She is outstanding. She's an asset to our middle school, and she actually works with our staff every 3 weeks on data. So we have so much data between the New York State assessment data, our iReady data, our local assessments, looking at student work and diving deeply into the writing, and we'll get there, is super important. So I just wanted to recognize her and her ongoing support with this work as a whole, in addition to doing all the other daily demands of being an assistant principal. Sam, you know that well. It never stops. That to-do list just continues to grow. We check them off, and then we continue to grow that list again. So kudos to all the great work she's done. Kudos to all of our teachers and all the collaborative work that they've done in the areas of science, in the areas of math, and in the areas of reading and ELA. So I do want to start off with utilizing Science 21, as we mentioned, and something that Jackie actually shared with us in the summertime was a workbook called Measuring Up Science, which we did share with our 5th grade science teachers, and they were like, ooh, this looks amazing. It's aligned to the state standards, and it has a lot of the similar aspects of the science exam. So this has helped kind of build those New York State science assessment questions and to help better prepare our students.
Travis, is it online or is it an actual workbook?
Both.
Oh,
So
good.
we gave it to
Because
them.
It's different online than it is in a book.
You
So
have to do both.
So we actually gave them the workbook and then they asked for the online version, so we got both.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What's the name of it again?
Measuring Up Science.
Thank you.
Yep. They actually make a 5th grade version and they make an 8th grade version. So I recently shared the 8th grade book with Michelle Dugal, and we're taking a look at that as well.
Good, thank
And
you.
again, please understand that the 8th grade assessment measures the learning of our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and that 5th grade assessment is our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, keeping that in mind. Math curriculum, as Jackie had shared, we're in Eureka Math Year 1. Although our 5th and 6th grade teachers had used Eureka previously a bit, we're now in Year 1 for our 7th and 8th grade. The science of reading and explicit instruction in writing. Jamie has done a phenomenal job working on the actually K-12 writing continuum. And I don't know if she wants to share a little bit. I told her I wasn't going to put her on the spot, but she's so educated with regards to this. I'm going to let her talk a little bit about that science of writing or writing continuum K-12.
Good evening. I'll use the microphone this time. Because I'm so involved in data, like I pretty much can spew the numbers off the top of my head, and that's I was like, oh, it's 142. That's why I was trying to get the point across that the opt-outs were actually a small portion in proportion to the population. But with regard to the writing continuum, this was kind of birthed out of science of reading. And what we do is we look at all of the writing across the district. We've done this in several different ways in that we've prompted and used the same prompt for students, K through 12, to see what kind of writing is brought back. And really the purpose is to not only examine teacher practice, but also to really understand student thinking. And at the end of the day, numbers do talk, but why students think a certain way with certain questions or how they answer with certain questions is just as important. And part of my data work has been looking at how are students thinking when they are asked a specific question, how do they respond correctly or incorrectly, and let's try to figure out how we support them within the classroom. Part of the writing continuum has also birthed different kinds of really building to building relationships, whereas we are going to fuse some of the IB work that we're doing from our 8th graders, their community project, with some of the 11th graders. We are going to look at what DP writing looks like with our 8th graders so that they have that kind of vantage point of, hey, these are the expectations. How do we start to unpack that now? It also has bridged some of the elementary school success with Writing Revolution and bringing that into the building. I have also been working with our social studies teachers on what does writing look like in their classrooms, as well as the frequency of tasks, and kind of developing, again, what are they writing, when is it happening, and what are students really thinking as they are asked questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and as Jackie Levine shared, we do have increased E&L support at the middle school. We now have 2 full-time E&L teachers, which has been a tremendous help with regards to our programs. We do utilize monthly PD sessions where our teachers are collaborating together. And one thing that's unique about the middle school and also similar to the elementary school is our teachers have a common professional period every day that they work together and collaborate. So in addition to the once a month PD sessions after school, they have daily common time together. And one day a week they actually work on their IB curriculum and unit writing. And the other days they work on aligning their content area. And then of course they talk about students, and we have RTI, and then they also have parent meetings during that time as well, where we invite parents in to speak with their teachers. We have increased spiraling New York State assessment questions. Some call that test prep, but it's not really test prep because we spiral these questions in all year, and then we have a little heavier, more emphasis on them once we're approaching the assessments in the spring. Literacy curriculum review, looking at the reading that our students are doing and the skills that they bring with those books. And then finally, our IB MYP work. Being authorized doesn't mean we're ever done with IB. They come back in 5 years, and we're continuing to grow our units across the board. In actually grade levels 5 through 8, more of an emphasis on year 1 in grade 6, year 2 in grade 7, year 3 in grade 8. But our 5th grade teachers build that foundation through their work with their approaches to learning skills as well. So we appreciate all the support of all of our teachers, and that actually helps our building, especially when we have to move teachers based on grade level needs and such. So I know there were some questions that the board had before we move on to our high school.
First of all, the daily time together, that's a specific grade or all grade levels together?
That's a specific grade. So our 5th grade has common professional period daily together, 6th grade separate daily together. So they're not aligned, although our 5th and 6th grade does have a little bit of alignment just based on where in the day they have it. So they could swap their lunch and their professional so that their professional could align, and we've actually used that time to meet with our 5th and 6th grade teachers together.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I apologize, Jackie, I should have mentioned this prior, but I'd like to see trending of data because from what I see year over year sitting here, the 6th grade has consistently outperformed other grades with their scores. And we've talked about before, what's the best practice, what's the special sauce, what are they doing that can be carried to the other grades, and I haven't seen that yet on your results. So that's what I'm asking. And I know last time when you were here the other day, or a couple of months ago, Crystal put it much more eloquently than I did. So if you have anything to add to that. But from her, I'm not an educator, so I can't speak to that, but sure. 6th grade consistently is outperforming.
So it's a wonderful thing to have a specific grade level out of many that are performing amazingly. I want to say that because we're talking about like the top of the top right now, right? 6th grade is doing something very special according to last year's data. I was going to ask for the same thing, just having the wondering of, is this a cohort thing or is this a pedagogical thing that's happening? Is it the same pattern? And my understanding is that I believe that it is historically, that we constantly see the 6th grade really outperforming, and it doesn't mean that the other grades are not performing well, they are. The 6th grade is just doing something that's a little bit different, if that's the case with historical data for 6th grade. The reason why I mention that is because there's such a stark difference in the number of level 2s. And I'm very interested to see what's the pinpoint there. I'm also interested to see the correlation between the opt-out numbers being lower, or the refusals, I should say. We never opt out, we refuse. There must be a correlation there. There's something happening. Even with the percentage perhaps being a little bit more similar than the actual numbers from the cohort, I would venture to say that sixth grade probably has the fewest opt-outs or refusals in the school. So we need to see what's happening there, and it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to have other grade levels even just have a discussion about what does test sophistication look like, what does the thinking look like, what does the questioning look like, to Mr. Lathrop's point earlier. It's important that they be able to have that collaborative discussion, and I think that's probably why you were asking the question of, are they able to meet all together? Just to see. And it might not be able to come up in conversation, so visiting one another might be a really good opportunity, but there's something going on that's amazing in sixth grade, and we have to figure out how to replicate it. I would also say that it seems to me, after looking through K through 3 to 8, that there's a dip in fifth, they go back up in sixth, and then there continues to be that dip in seventh and eighth. Eighth, we know that the algebra scores, are removed from there, so I think that that's a little bit hard to compare when we're looking at the numbers. But I would also say later on, when we hear about the high school, that there's something really amazing happening in eighth grade algebra that we need to figure out, because those scores are not the same as the high school scores. And so we have to look at that as well. And so I just think we have some opportunities here to do some intervisitations and to learn from one another. Like Ms. Levine said, teachers learn best from each other, and there's gold to be uncovered here. So great job with those sixth grade numbers and the numbers overall.
Thank you. Yes, and to your point, we're actually working on intervisitations. We actually have, speaking of Algebra 1 teachers, our Algebra 1 teachers actually visiting the high school to see the model that the high school uses. Actually not just visiting algebra, but visiting various math classes. Our seventh grade math teacher visited a fifth grade math class. So we're encouraging that opportunity and subbing for our teachers. And a lot of the stuff that you had mentioned with regards to understanding that sixth grade, we are diving into. Know that we are. We're investigating it. We're having our teachers collaborate with one another to discuss best practices across the board so that we can continue to grow. But we've seen that phenomena for some time now. That transition from elementary to middle is a big change for those students, and we're trying to figure out how to continue to grow them and to keep and to sustain the positivity and those great results across the board as they transition over.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
I was just say, just to clarify, so the slide we have for eighth grade math results, that cohort is the algebra cohort at the high school. So that the high school algebra numbers, just like the eighth grade math numbers are now, are absent of those 50 kids who had already taken the exam. So it's that same cohort minus 50 of your highest achieving students who already took the exam. So those students move on to geometry, while these current eighth grade students then are the high school algebra students. So I always, for anyone who looks at algebra, I encourage them to look at both, across both buildings, to get a better sense as to how students ultimately performed on that exam. So if we were to take this year's algebra students and next year's algebra students in the high school and add them together, that would give you a true cohort of how our current eighth graders performed on that exam.
I'm wondering if there's, I don't know if maybe Ms. Levine has looked at this already, but just to disaggregate the data between eighth grade and the other students that take the algebra region, so that we can determine if there is a difference, in fact, because 100% is an amazing number. Doesn't get better than that. I'm just saying. So I think we should, and if that is, if they are one number right now, if they're all included in that one number for the high school, that means that actually brought up the high school number. So I would.
They're not. So the high school number is excluding the students who already took it in eighth grade.
Exactly.
Right. So it looks lower, but if you were to compare in the other 50 kids who scored an 85 the previous year, it would be a much higher level of achievement for that cohort.
I see. Okay.
Right, the best way to do it would be essentially to put a 2-year trend in there to show, well, 50 of the kids took it 2 years ago. The rest of the kids took it 1 year ago, and when we combine those two, that tells you how that class
Yep.
did on algebra.
Absolutely, but it also needs to be just said, and I think that you said it beautifully, Travis, just about that. It appears in these charts that level 4s go down tremendously in 8th grade. They really don't. Our highest performing students are taking a Regents at that level when they're taking that Regents really a year early. So that needs to be celebrated. Awesome.
And I have to say, having gone to the 2 middle school concerts this week, the difference between 5th graders, 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders is when you watch all 4 in a row, some of it's the teachers, but some of it's the age of the students and what they're going through as learners, as emotional wrecks sometimes, and with all the stress. I also think that we have to recognize that students grow at different levels, and sometimes there's a comfort, and the real hormones haven't hit until 7th grade, so 6th grade is kind of like a nice little cushion grade. So I just want to say, and I know you guys are looking at the students all the time, in addition to the teachers, so thank you for that.
Thank you, and thank you to the board for your support. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a word about this item here, the literacy curriculum review for the middle school. Just so that the board is aware, NYSET has given us a great deal of resources and guidance in how to support our pre-K through 3 literacy with the science of reading, but they have not provided a lot of guidance in secondary. So we are actually working in-house using the guidance documents that are available and our own knowledge and expertise, and maybe even a little help of AI, to form our own literacy curriculum review documents and resource to look at our middle school literacy curriculum. So that is work we're doing in-house. It's not actually something that we have a whole lot of guidance for. We'll be working with someone from BOCES to support that as well. But that is something that Jamie and I are working, and Travis are all working on together. So anyway.
So I just want to throw it out there, a little back of the envelope math. So if we add in the 50 8th grade students who took the algebra exam, that brings the proficiency rate up to 82% for 8th grade math in general, if we look across both exams.
Beautiful.
So you would essentially be adding 50 students to the tier 4, since they all scored at a 85 or higher, or average 85 or higher.
Thank you, Dr. Lau. All right, I'm very excited now to welcome Matt Mello from the high school, our high school principal, to talk a little bit about our high school data. You're going to see some really amazing results from our students. We always have areas to work on, we recognize that, but especially when we get to the latter slides of this particular section of our presentation, I just can't say we couldn't be more proud of the students and the teachers in our schools and what they're able to accomplish. So let's turn it over to Mr. Mello.
All right, how's everyone doing out there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of questions about inquiry. I know Mr. Lathrop talked about, like, throughout the district, we're looking at inquiry. And I get up here and I'm like, my question, my burning question, how do you make a data presentation interesting, exciting, invigorating? And I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer to that.
We only had a slide with a lot of colors.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. A lot of color on the slides, and it's a home run right there. I want to start off with just congratulating our game day cheer team. They are truly, truly amazing. I love the fact that the shirts that they got this year for winning states are gold, because you have set the gold standard for game day cheer, throughout Section 1 and the state. I mean, you are the team that all the other teams, click it, right? Clock it. Yeah, of course. I'm just not that cool. But anyway, it's a gold standard. They are the gold standard of cheerleading. All the other programs are coming to Putnam Valley to see what our program is doing to be successful. So a lot of hard work, dedication, and I love the fact that they go to the elementary school, and there's all these elementary school kids that get to see them do this routine, and they get all pumped up and excited about it, because that's how you sustain programs. So, all right, let's get on to the exciting world of data. All right, so right here, this is what's a little bit more difficult about high school Regents data. It's not by like grade. It's not as easy to just kind of put out there by grade because there are so many different Regents exams. You can see here on the right, it kind of gives you what all that color coding stuff is really all about. But I think the key to focus on are the passing rates that you see there. Algebra 80%, English 87, Geometry 68, Living Environment 76, Global History 93, Chemistry 80, Earth Science 84, and U.S. History 93. You can sit there and digest it. Hopefully you develop some questions because this is about inquiry. I don't want to sit here and go through every single one of these. Take a look at that, and there's some things that jump out to me. I'm curious to see like what jumps out to you with the Regent scores.
The geometry jumps out to me. We were just talking about the algebra students who are now taking geometry in their first,
Yeah, I think that's the obvious one that sits there. I know that we've been having discussions. I think we've been very consistent with geometry throughout the course of the years.
I hate geometry.
So it's not like this is a dip, in the last year or two with geometry. I think this is where we've consistently been, and it's one of those things that we constantly look at and what can we do differently, that we're addressing those scores. If you look at geometry, for us, and I'm going to find the color-coded piece up there.
It's yellow, but it's...
Yellow, thank you. Yeah. So if you look at yellow, look at BOCES, throughout the course of, look at throughout all of the region, it's much lower, right? But ours is really low. So I think it's important to note that, and it's one of the things that we had a lot of conversations over the summer. We're making adjustments to what we're doing with our geometry programs, hoping to see what that can do, as far as moving forward. But that definitely is one that stands out.
I also see that both social studies exams are rocking it.
That's because the principal was a former social studies teacher.
Well, that might be.
He values this more than anything. Yeah, and I mean, throw in there ELA as well. If you look at those three, right, we're talking about humanities type courses. I think that, it kind of stands out in that area. I wish I had a magic reason why, but it might be the fact that we do a great job at the lower levels when it comes to reading, writing, so that when you get to the, regents in 10th grade, 11th grade that are reading, writing heavy, both the history exams and the ELA, our students excel in those areas. I think that might have something to do with it. It's been a focus for a long time in the district. I can feel like 15, 16 years ago, there was a major focus on hey, what are we doing with writing? So that's a good one to look at. And I think we're very consistent when it comes to the other, the sciences.
Mr. McCarty had spoken about how they're doing cross teaching with some of the other math teachers coming and teaching in other grades. Have you thought about doing that for geometry, perhaps a different perspective from other teachers?
So one of the things that if you talk to math teachers, and we've had discussions as a math department about this, geometry is a rather unique kind of math, right? All the other ones, when they started throwing letters in there, I got a little bit lost, right? When it's just numbers, it was kind of easy for me to handle math. But then they started throwing letters, and then there's symbols and stuff. But geometry is a little bit different than the other maths. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think it's, typically math, geometry skills are something that students struggle with all along, and they don't get a lot of geometry exposure in the younger grades. So those are kind of the conversations that we've had at the high school. One of the things we talk about all the time is, we have the IB program, and we constantly ask, how do we get more kids to be in an IB class? An IB class is in 11th and 12th grade, and do they have the skills, or are they getting the skills in 10th grade, 9th grade, 8th? And then if they aren't, or if they need to be different skills, what do we need to do with those conversations? One of the conversations that Jackie and I have been putting together is with the world languages. Because we noticed that world language in 11th grade, IB world language, it's not really replicating the amount of students. We have a huge drop-off from 10th to 11th grade, right? And it has a lot to do with the skills that they need in 11th and 12th grade, the confidence that they need in 11th and 12th grade to go on to like an IB Spanish course. So what is it we can do going all the way back now to 6th grade to develop different skills that will give them a better opportunity to be successful, or the confidence to be successful in 11th and 12th grade?
Yeah, I
would
think
like
for
to get-
geometry, sorry to jump in.
Yeah.
For geometry, I think a lot of it goes back to what Mr. Mello said in terms of the prerequisite skills. And if you look at our numbers, you'll notice something that's very unique. So that 100% of kids that average an 85 on the algebra regents go on to geometry, and you would expect there to be a huge gap between honors, where those kids would continue, and regents. And for year after year, we don't see a huge gap there. In fact, some years, our regents kids have outperformed our honors kids, which would be counterintuitive to what you would think would happen. But when you start mapping back and say, well, how is that possible? How are the regents kids outperforming the honors kids who are supposed to be accelerated? But you realize what those honors kids missed was an entire year of 8th grade math.
Right.
Because they took algebra in 8th grade. Whereas the regents kids sat for an entire year of 8th grade math, learned many of the prerequisite skills they needed to then be successful in geometry, whereas our accelerated students skipped that year, skipped those prerequisites, and then what we find out is they struggle in geometry because they don't have the same base knowledge that their peers do when they take it a year later. So that's, I think, a big piece of it, and we've had conversations all the way back into the middle school. What other opportunities do we have to capture those standards? How do we get those kids some of those prerequisite skills earlier, before 8th grade, so they're not going into that geometry class in 9th grade with nothing? And that's kind of some of that back mapping work that we're trying to do.
Good point.
Yeah, I think now that we know, we have that's a really great point. That is like a really great point, and an aha that I hadn't put together. But certainly, now that we know that, we have to figure out where to put those standards back in. And I would just say this, actually, you have a really great point about going back to elementary. I wouldn't be able to speak to this for our elementary school, but I know that in other elementary schools, geometry has, for a lot of reasons, been put on the back burner as, oh, it's just those shapes. Well, guess what? It's not. And actually, that's probably the math we use most in life. And so, I think that the more that we understand how important every standard, particularly in math, really is, that it has this driving force to what they have to do in the high school. And we see that with the new, it was new then, Common Core Math, and now Next Gen Math, that even things as simple as part and whole for a kindergartner come back in high school classes through number bonds, right? And so it's just very interesting to see that trajectory and that pattern. And perhaps that's the reason why the scores have been stagnant in those lower ranges.
And not that I'm suggesting this, but I've been part of this conversation in other districts where I've worked, where we've walked away from 8th grade algebra for that exact reason. Because when you looked at the trend of data year after year, you were seeing excellent performance in algebra in 8th grade, and then those kids were tanking geometry in 9th grade, and then they were leaving math. I'm out. So whereas the point is to accelerate students to get them to higher levels of math in high school in their junior and senior year, they found great success in 8th grade. They got struggled through geometry in 9th grade, and then they just didn't continue beyond that, and which is totally counterproductive for what we're trying to accomplish. Now, I don't think Putnam Valley has the same data, but obviously we're seeing some of the same struggles for those kids when they get to 9th grade.
Well, we had that same discussion when we were discussing science.
Correct. And we recently held a meeting this year to sort of reaffirm that was the direction we wanted to go, and it involved middle school and high school teachers, middle school and high school administrators, as well as some district administrators. And we left that meeting with the decision that we're going to continue to offer 8th grade math to all, 8th grade science to all, because the detriment to accelerating some or all in 8th grade would become a detriment to those students as they continue through the high school sciences, because they would essentially be missing skills that they would need to be successful in the high school.
Yeah, and that's a valid point about another way that we are collaborating with the middle school and trying to understand what courses to offer. or how to offer them. We go through all these discussions like, regents in 8th grade, and there's like the new, profile of a graduate, right, coming out.
Yeah.
And, which means, it says that you don't need to pass all these regents exams to graduate. There are other assessment measures that you can use, which kind of defeats like some of the things that we were trying to do. Some of the adjustments and time and effort that we've been putting into, discussions with 8th grade math, science. Kind of, throws that out the window because it's a moot point at this point,
Yeah.
And one of the things that, Mr. Oliver, you probably know this, but, students that are going on to BOCES technical school in 11th grade need to have a certain amount of sciences before they get there. And, if you have 8th grade earth science, it gets them that extra science, instead of having to double up in a science in 10th grade. So, there was a reason for it, but now if that's going away, why are we spinning our wheels in that direction?
Yeah.
So, I think Mr. McCarty said it before. As soon as you start to get comfortable with what you're doing, New York State tells you to do something different.
Change it.
But again, I think the focus always comes back. The administrators and teachers are looking to do this kind of work. The focus still comes back to students and what's best for students to help them get to where we want them to be as successful adults. So I congratulate you for keeping students at your center.
Yeah. And history is what's best for kids, right? I mean, we all know that it's history. This is just another look at this comparison to the lower Hudson region. It's not that much different. Here's the IB scores at a glance. Again, there's multiple IB courses. You can see that it's broken down between the higher level and the standard level and the subject group areas. And one of the things that I think I am incredibly proud of how well we do compared to the rest of the world. Think about this. Not every school in New York State is an IB school. Actually, very, very few schools in New York State are IB schools. A lot of the schools worldwide are private schools, exclusive schools, that only take specific types of students, and they're all enrolled in these IB courses. We are competing against all of those when we look at these statistics, and I think we're doing incredibly well. And this is 6 years into testing for the program. So I'm really, really proud of where we are. And we talk about backward mapping. This is where we want to be, and we want more students to take advantage. We're this IB for all philosophy. We believe all students can challenge themselves in IB courses, and whether they score high, low, doesn't matter. They're going to get something out of those courses, more than what you're going to get from just a regular course that you would take in school. So we're constantly looking at this and how to make IB courses more accessible to more students. It's one of our major goals, largely because we're doing so well in what we do. It's a testament to the teachers, to the board for investing in this program, and especially to the students as seniors who are pouring a lot of time into these courses as seniors, where I know I wasn't as a senior.
Matt, I know that there's a charge for AP courses. Is there a charge for the higher level IB courses?
So the difference is, like in an AP, you're paying for an exam.
Yeah.
In IB, you're paying for a course, right? It's a 2-year course that you're paying for. So it's not an exam that you're paying for. IB has multiple assessments, as opposed to AP, there's one assessment at the end in May that determines what your grade is in an AP course. There's internal assessments, external assessments, there's essays, there's speaking, there's all these things that go into your IB score. So you're paying for a course.
Could this cost be a deterrent to
Yes.
having more kids in there? And how can we address that issue?
So
Absolutely.
I'm gonna ask that you stay tuned for our upcoming budget presentation.
Okay.
Absolutely. I've had students come and talk to me about it.
We call it the
I've had
Eliana
parents talk to me
clause.
about it. And if we really want to be, an IB for all and be equitable, I think, looking at how these tests are paid for is something that we need to do. There's a huge expense for these families.
What is the
of
cost,
seniors.
if you don't mind? What is the cost for
$123 per exam.
How much?
$123 per course, IB course.
For a course?
Yeah.
Per year,
It's a 2-year course, so you're paying $123.
for the 2 years.
Yeah, and you pay it in hopefully you're paying it in October of your senior year. But think about these parents that are facing, parents of seniors. It's the IB course that they're paying for, Dutchess Community College courses
Yeah.
that they're paying for. There's college applications that they're paying for. Their tax bill comes in at the same time. They're really saddled with a lot. And then, then the holidays come roll around, and you got to get your favorite principal, something for Christmas too.
Start safe.
Thank you, Matt. I was wondering about that because I know the potential of our students is very high, but some of them could be driven away from it because of the cost. And
Yeah,
that's a
absolutely.
concern.
Would, I'm gonna wait for the next presentation, but that would be an incredible equity issue
Yeah.
that I know
I
our
agree.
district is probably addressing, so.
All right, well, the
We'll stay
cat's
tuned.
obviously out of the bag, so for our budget presentation, for the instructional budget presentation, Mr. Bello, Grace, myself, we already had this conversation. I'll be making the recommendation to the board that the district cover IB course costs, and we'll have much more detail and explain why, what makes IB different than AP versus DCC. The budgeting standpoint in terms of it actually doesn't change our expense line at all because we already budget for the expense. It's only we're going to see a slight decrease in our revenue overall. So we have a plan in place. I will be recommending that the board cover IB course costs for all students moving forward. And it's very similar to, we talk a lot about CTE. For our students who go to BOCES for CTE, that comes at a significant expense to the district. Yeah. And we don't ever ask those students to flip the bill to go to that CTE course.
Right.
So why are we now asking others to pay money to participate in a course? And it has to do with course participation, which is different than paying to take an exam or paying for credit. And we'll talk more about that when we come through the budget season. Because there is a difference between AP and IB and DCC. And we'll be able to articulate that during the budget presentation.
Right. I think it's important that we have clear and communicated rationale for whatever the district is recommending to the board for which items to pay for. And the reason for that is because a very large sect of our community still is very attached to AP courses for a lot of reasons. And I just want to make sure that we have strong rationales in place for whatever decisions we're going to be making in the future around AP or IB.
I mean, the quickest reason is students can sit for an AP course and not take the exam and pay nothing.
Exactly.
Students cannot sit for an IB course and not pay for it.
Okay.
So we are creating a roadblock to the learning, whereas AP would be
It's just a test.
It'd be a roadblock for the test, and not the learning that occurred throughout the school year. That's the simplest difference between the two.
Sounds good.
for that.
Can't wait for that presentation, Dr. Love.
And we continue to appreciate our
Another
students
riveting
speaking
one.
up about this. Thank you.
But you know what? I think just a huge shout out to the student reps too, because they came forward. They talked to me about these things. They talked to our IB coordinator, Mr. DiGregorio. I mean, the students articulated these struggles that families are having at that time, and it allows us to then sit there and have the conversation. Right? It's all about inquiry, right? Inquiry and reflection. That's the IB program, and why are we not living that ourselves? So they brought up the questions to us. About this, and it makes us reflect on what we do. So I really appreciate that.
And it doesn't help them, but it does help the future. So they are providing for students going forward, which is tremendous.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you.
Good job.
All right, IB data trends. So one of the things, we keep saying this, we have more seniors involved in higher level courses. I don't mean IB, HL courses, but their senior year. So we have more students taking part in these courses senior year than we ever have. I mean, it's one of those things that we've noticed bring in the IB program. And so that's what's really, really great about this. We offered APs, DCC courses in 11th and 12th grade, or 12th grade, prior to having the IB program here. The numbers aren't even close to what they are now with students that are taking IB courses. So we have a lot more students working a lot harder in their senior year. And believe me, we hear it from them on occasion. We hear it from them. They just want to chill out and be high school students. But they're working hard, and we really appreciate that. For each subject, there are 3 or 4 assessments. For example, Spanish SL includes a 15-minute oral, listening, and reading assessments. English HL, guided textual analysis, comparative essay, 1,200 to 1,500 word formal essay, 15-minute oral assessment. And then biology, these are just examples: scientific investigation, multiple choice, short answer, and extended response. So when we talk about IB courses, there's multiple assessments that are involved in an IB course, not one test on one day. College acceptances is kind of like just a snapshot of our college acceptances last year. We sent surveys out to students to get the responses. That doesn't mean that they all went to these colleges. Some of them might have had a couple of really difficult decisions to make about the college that they're going to go to. But you can see that the college acceptances are really, really impressive. I think that's our first student internationally, St. Andrews, Durham. I don't know if you know that school, but it's an incredibly prestigious school in England. So it's really impressive to see this Duke, our first student ever to go to Duke. 5 students at Cornell right now, not that graduated last year, but over the course of the last 4 years, there are 5 students that are at Cornell. 2 of them are in the exclusive Dyson Economics School. So we're really proud of, where our students are going and what they're accomplishing. I'd like to say that's all because of me, but no, it's not. It's because they work really hard to do what they're doing. And so do our teachers. There's some scholarship data that's out there. This is one of the things that Mr. DiGregorio and I have been talking about. How do we better capture, and the guidance department, Ms. Keller, we've been talking about how do we better capture all of these great things that these kids are getting when they go to school. So that's one of the projects that we're going to look at. What IB requires you to do is a program development plan every year. So this is one of our program development plans, is how do we better capture this scholarship offers, exclusive scholarships that they get, awards that they get, and honors programs that they get into, because we're starting to see more and more students get these opportunities when they go to college, which is just amazing. And you can see there's just kind of like a little snapshot.
These are the ones that were offered to our students?
Yeah. And this is a snapshot. It's not all of them. What we're relying on here is students to respond to us, and give us that information. So our project this year is going to look to see how do we better capture that before they go away. One of the things we don't know in June is we don't know, like, the students that got diplomas, the IB diploma, and we won't know in June, like, what other schools have offered them because of that. So they don't get their scores until July. So we don't know exactly what that is, so we're relying on feedback from the students when they,
When
after
they're
the
checked
fact.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're kind of moved on,
exactly.
like, flying planes and stuff like
Good
that.
idea to ask them beforehand.
Yeah. So we're trying to figure that out, but that's one of our projects this year.
It's a lot of presidential scholarships. It's very impressive.
It is. We are really, really proud of what our students are doing, where they're going, and how successful they are. As always, this is our BOCES side. I think I showed this last time at my opening of schools presentation, but it shows you where our BOCES numbers are. One of the things that we keep stressing to especially our 10th grade students, is becoming more and more competitive to get into the programs at BOCES Technical Center. And sometimes there's a program that they really want to get into and they don't get into that. And sometimes it has to do with their grades, their academic and behavioral record in high school could limit the opportunity that they have over at BOCES because it's becoming so competitive. So we stress that to our students because we want to be able to offer that. We want every student to be able to pursue the high school education that they want. So we have to start with making sure they understand that it is competitive to get into the programs that they want to. Here's a listing of all the different programs that our students are involved in.
I love that. That's awesome.
And then we have our 9 to 12 changes and developments. We are beginning the middle years program. We applied for authorization. We're in the process of, our IB, NYP coordinator is Kat Schutz. She's done an amazing job of reworking our collaborative periods this year so that we can have a focus on approaches to teaching and learning skills as they pertain to IB, really developing that common language that they need, understanding what has to go into IB unit plans, so that we can start to develop these unit plans. But it's led to really rich discussions in those collaborative meetings about teaching and learning. I know Mr. Lathrop has been a part of a bunch of them as well. And he is able to kind of use that to connect with other buildings, other schools, with kind of like seeing what they're doing, what we're doing. So it's been really beneficial having reworked our collaborative periods this year, largely because of the middle years program coming in, but we're using it to really have rich academic, educational discussions with them. Like I mentioned before, we're doing the backwards planning with world language. We're also doing that with math. We constantly look at our programs, and we start with, our most like exclusive, more difficult programs, more challenging programs, and what do we need to do to have more children attempt those? I've talked to people from all over the country, principals from all over the country. And you hear about schools like in Colorado where kids are doing calculus in 10th grade. And you're like, how is that possible that they're doing calculus in 10th grade? But you then have to look at, well, what are they doing in the grades before that are allowing them to take something like calculus in 10th grade? You start to have those discussions, and they're really rich discussions, especially when we talk about backward mapping, and what we can do district-wide to provide better opportunities or more opportunities for students when they get to their junior, senior year in high school. The science of reading training that's going on, writing lab development, we've incorporated our Tigers 101 that we worked on last year into our writing labs this year, which work on social emotional skills. We've had what's her name? Stephanie Clark from Circuit Consulting in to go over like DBT, dialectic behavior training with the staff that we can then utilize with the students. Things like, all right, let's just shake it out a little, shake it out, right? You look around the room, it looks a little lethargic in here, everybody should stand up. Let's just shake it out a little bit, right? But the science behind that and why that really helps students refocus, recenter, so that they can now move on with their learning. It helps me a lot too. Let's see, our science team is working on the new Regents exams. They've changed the Regents exams. The investigations that they have to do, and they're preparing to be able to offer those next year. The new science Regencies are offered this year, but our students are going to be taking the old Regents, not the new Regents. And that way we can fully understand the implications of the new Regencies, because there'll be 2 years of data for them. The new science Regencies, Earth Science and Biology, it's Earth Science and Space, Earth and Space Science and Biology were given last year in the spring. Our students didn't take it. Schools had the option of taking that. And those schools that took it, their scores were not good. So they're like really trying to rethink and understand what was going on. We decided to kind of like hit a pause on that so we'd look at it, and I really appreciate what our science teachers did in saying like, wait, let's just get an idea of what's going on with this test, better our understanding. We'll have 2 years of data for that test before our students have to take that new test. So we're happy and proud of our science teachers for being advocates for their science program. So. And then preparing for financial literacy. I think this is interesting, the financial literacy piece, because we've been doing this in multitudes of ways for years at Putnam Valley. I mean, if you're in an economics class, you're getting this financial literacy right there. But we also have math for personal finance. We have real world finance. We have IB business management. Like when we talk about, the financial literacy piece, and we have a guidance counselor, Mr. Campion, that is, if anybody's ever, been in or around him and he grabs you, you're stuck in like, you're stuck in an economics lecture on investments. that you can't get out of. But if you listen to them, you're probably going to get something really valuable out of that conversation. And Mr. Campion's talking with students that come in his office as well about, what they can be doing or what they should be doing at their age. So financial literacy, every time I hear well, what are we doing? We've been doing a lot of different things for years. Climate literacy, we have an environmental class this year, but it's something that's kind of woven into all of our subjects. At least I know, again, the best subject, history. I taught 9th, 10th, and 11th grade history for years, and there was always work in the curriculum on climate. Whether you're talking about early history or more recent history, you're always bringing that piece into the coursework. But
Matt,
New York State has new requirements for literacy.
Has the state set up the curriculum for the climate literacy yet?
Until it's March.
March?
You have to start teaching.
Does they say the year or just March?
When that comes
That's
out,
a great question. Yeah.
I would love to see what is contained in that, because I question a lot of the nonsense that floats around that topic.
It's K through 12.
Frankly, what's that?
It's K through 12.
Yeah. Well, I would just like to
Going
see
back
what
to
the
the days
state
of,
is promoting.
this is a nickel.
Yeah, I'll let Jackie talk a little bit, but Jackie, kind of strong-armed me to being part of this New York Inspires consortium at BOCES, and it's all about learning about what all these new changes are going to be. There's going to be a seal of climate literacy, right? A seal of finance. We're going to give ribbons and bows and stuff to all these graduates, because they've met certain requirements, but we don't know what they are yet. Jackie,
I don't really have that much more to share because we don't know what they are yet. We're still waiting, but we are part of this cohort that's meeting at PNW BOCES kind of quarterly, and it's really to unpack everything from the portrait of a graduate to these expectations to what is really happening with the multiple measures of assessments. As I've mentioned previously, I'm on the plan pilot, so there's that piece out there too that's informing the PBLA work that's going to be expected of districts. So more to come, I guess, but I did strong arm Matt into joining me at those.
I can understand the financial literacy. That's very important, and you're right, Matt. Even while I was here, those topics were ongoing, for many of the instructors. The climate literacy,
your guess is as good as mine right now.
I would just love to see what they want to promote.
That's right. We'll see. And we'll make sure that it works for Putnam Valley. So. Did you have any questions?
Any questions?
It's excellent.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, thank you. Have a great night.
Jackie, just a quick question for you. The RTI process, has that been aligned at all of the buildings? Are all of the buildings using the same form, the same process, the same, or similar, I should say?
I would say our MTSS team has been working on aligning that process. Our MTSS team is led by Letitia, and our assistant principals are key players on that, so they are constantly collaborating on that. But it does look a little different in every building just because of the nature of the age groups. So.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackie.
Wow.
Just want to thank everyone who presented here this evening. It takes a tremendous amount of leadership and vision and oversight to make all of this possible. So huge kudos to Jackie and all our other colleagues that are here this evening, and thank you for all that you do to support our buildings, our students, and our families. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you. Very nice job, everybody.
Yeah. Excellent.
Okay, so the next presentation is the first reading of policy 1120 and policy 1120 regulations, school district records.
It's only 8 pages, so I'll read quickly.
He's kidding.
Zip through that.
You don't have to read that.
So this is based upon, we're undergoing our regular policy review cycle now. So this was the second. We did the 0 series already this year. This is the 1000 series. So the changes are really based upon the recommendations from NYSBA specific to school district records, which is really mostly governed by the Freedom of Information Law. So we accepted many of the revisions that were requested or recommended by NYSBA. Our policy committee with Sam and Crystal, myself, Jackie, and Maureen met to review, and this is the first reading of the updates to that records policy, including naming a records retention officer, a records access officer, and lots of other exciting stuff.
They were new. Those recommendations are new.
This is an old policy that includes recommended changes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so that's just the first reading, and we'll do it at the next meeting. We'll.
Yep. So obviously available on the website for anyone who wants to look at it, or through our policy manual, also available on the website. And next meeting, it'll be up for a second reading and a board adoption.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Students, you have a report for us. What is going on in your world?
Just went to the bathroom. The NHS would like to thank PVHS Communities for their generosity in providing 300 families with a Thanksgiving meal this holiday. 144 bags of food were collected. The toy drive and coat drive are still going on. There's currently 6 boxes of coats filled. The IB dance class and the yearbook club went to see the Rockettes in New York City last week. The music department had the Gratitude Festival, and it was well attended, and it was a great night. I don't know if anybody saw, but there was a lot of great performances. It was really nice. And the sophomores went on a tour of BOCES on the 4th of this month. And Spotlight Awards were on November 25th, and a lot of students were recognized for their accomplishments this school year so far.
Yeah, thank you. The Spotlight Awards are always amazing.
They were great.
It's really nice to see students recognized for effort and for focus and for being cheerful and being happy. We oftentimes we recognize students for their grades, but don't always recognize how important attitude is, and the Spotlight Awards, I think, did that, so I think it was really nice. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Luff, did they steal your thunder?
Let's see what we got here. So good evening again. So I'm going to begin by just acknowledging that we last met before the Thanksgiving recess, so I hope everyone had a restful, relaxing time during their Thanksgiving break. Right before the Thanksgiving break, I was able to attend the Gratitude Festival, which is always one of the highlights of the school year, getting together, packed into our music room to see many of our former current students, as well as special guests, like maybe one unnamed board member who got up there and sang and played the piano. So it's always a highlight of the school year, and it's amazing to see how talented our students, staff, and community are, and always humbling for me, who possesses about 0 artistic talents across any of the disciplines. So I'll work on it. I taught myself how to play free falling on the guitar before I had a kid.
Amazing.
And now I think the kids have destroyed the guitar a long time ago.
I'll expect you on the agenda next year.
Thank you. So I was going to work with Ben and Chris, sound like this, to give me some private lessons, but I'll see. So our elementary school had an assembly, holidays around the world. I know Sam and Barbara were able to attend. Our high school held their Spotlight Awards, as they do periodically throughout the school year, recognizing students for many things other than just simply academics. We had an information meeting with the consulting company who did the electrification survey or plan for our school district. So this is a state required plan that we must have. So we paid a company to come in to do route analysis, check out our utilities that are available. I know Dave is working on updates in his presentation to cover some of the highlights of what the electrification plan is. This is for electrification of school buses. I wanted to clearly state that I think there is about a 0% chance the state holds true to their timeline. They're just remarkably unrealistic. Putnam Valley, it would be considered a privileged district in the fact that we actually have the power at the street level that we would need And despite that fact, we're looking at well over $10 million just to get up and running, and that's after the state promised incentive. So more information coming on that, but it's really an unrealistic expectation for public schools at this time and maybe forever. But certainly I anticipate the timeline for that changing, because it is simply, it's not going to happen. We had a Lower Hudson Council of School Superintendents, where I'm the president-elect. We held a board meeting, executive board meeting, and we actually have tomorrow is our monthly meeting. There's been a lot of work going on there. I've actually been on the phone with the commissioner's office, with NISCUS, with the governor's office, with legislators and assembly people, senators from all over the state, working on a variety of issues. So that's been a new experience for me, being on the executive committee of that, and a very eye-opening experience doing lots of the stuff that I hate doing, like advocacy work. But I'm getting better. I'm learning. So we've already begun our 26-27 school budget meetings. So we've met with each of the buildings and most of the departments. I know Grace and I are finalizing those. This is our first step in the process. Everybody sort of lays out their wish list. Then we come up with a bottom dollar amount, and then we go back to them and tell them all that they can't have what they want. So they have to start cutting things, but we'll get there. That meeting hasn't happened yet. We had actually a couple times this week, we had our first negotiations meeting with the PVFT, which I think was yesterday. The days start mixing together, or it was this week. And then right before this meeting, we had a much larger meeting with district administration and members of the Putnam Valley Federation of Teachers Executive Board, going through many of our agenda items for the year. And our middle school held their chorus concerts earlier this week. I do want to highlight, I know we spoke a little bit about the CTE program at BOCES. Our 10th graders had the opportunity to visit BOCES earlier this week, and 60 students went over on the tour. So 60 of our current 10th grade students went over just to check out CTE, hear from their programs, their counselors, their teachers, and some other students, and hear a little bit about that program. So certainly seems like a large level of interest of students who wanted to at least go over and check it out. We spoke about our UPK program. So our application window is open now for next school year. So if you have a child who will be 4 years old on or before December 1st, 2026, and live within the Putnam Valley School District boundaries, you are eligible to enter the lottery. The lottery, we anticipate supporting up to 40 students, and the deadline for that submission is December 31st. I know a mailer went home to every house in Putnam Valley, not the school district, but every physical address within Putnam Valley. Should have gotten a postcard, so we're not missing anyone who may have their first child entering pre-K. And as well as there's a wealth of information available on websites, newsletters. Jackie's mouthing something, but you could just speak in your mic because I can't read lips.
The newsletter went home.
Newsletter went home,
Yes, the
yes.
newsletter mailer went in.
The newsletter, not a postcard, went home.
Ours came today.
Excellent.
It
You
looks
got yours?
great.
Looks great?
Big old picture of you.
Uh-oh. Did I okay that? Okay. I don't even want to see it. And I did want to recognize part of the Gratitude Festival was sort of in memory of Ben Louder, who unfortunately passed away in a tragic incident over the summer. But the Louder family was there in attendance and actually provided a $2,000 donation to the Putnam Valley Music Association. So I do want to recognize the generosity of them and the unfortunate tragic loss of a former student. Some of the upcoming events, our middle school has their band concerts coming up next week, December 16th and 17th. Our elementary school has their holiday gift shop where all items are free. That'll be at the elementary school from 10 a.m. to noon on Saturday, December 13th. Wednesday, December 17th is the holiday potluck at the Putnam Valley Middle School cafeteria, 6 p.m. Please RSVP so we know that you're coming. And we have a public hearing that's available out in the community right now. This is just an update to our district safety plan. We had to add our emergency cardiac care, including AED, part of the plan. So if you check it on the website, it's on page 21. And that will be voted on by hopefully approved through resolution by the board on January 8th, just prior to our next scheduled board meeting. And then we have a couple of fundraisers that are out there right now, and information should have gone home to everyone. Our High School National Honor Society has their coat, glove, hat, and scarves drive. Girl Scout Troop 2936 has their giving tree located outside of the Putnam Valley Library for non-perishable food and basic hygiene, hats, gloves, scarves. You just leave it under the tree to the end of end of December. And our PTA has a fundraiser coming up, their Pocketbook Bingo event, which I know is a huge moneymaker for them, on Friday, January 23rd, Cortland Colonials, when the doors open at 5:30 p.m. I won a pretty sweet Coach bag not too long ago. I still haven't found the appropriate use for it, but one of these days I'm going to use it. It's very nice. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank the students for, telling us like how much was collected, because I think that's really important for the district to hear, so I really appreciate. Eliana sent me an email, and then you told us about the food tonight. Our students at all buildings do a tremendous job of giving back to the community, and I think we need to recognize it for the hundreds of people that are watching our board meetings. But as many ways as we can, show appreciation for what they're doing for the community. So, okay, thanks, Dr. Luft. New business. Item number 1, please.
Okay, resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to appoint Amira Lalanja to a probationary appointment as a teacher aide effective December 15th, 2025, with a probationary period of 52 weeks, December 14th, 2026, at the elementary school on step 1 of the CSEA salary schedule.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. The next one, several, are resignations. And just to say before we start, these are really hard to hear sometimes.
Yes, they are.
These people are people that I've worked with that have helped us and supported us for years. So, we will accept or not their resignation, but all of them will be missed.
So I just want to clarify for some, they're for different reasons. Obviously, we want to celebrate those who are retiring for the purpose of retirement, and they'll have, throughout the school year, we'll have the opportunity to celebrate them. We have a cherished teacher in our middle school who's relocating, so she'll be resigning, but unfortunately for her, not to retire. She's got many years left to work. But she'll be relocating with her husband and just simply too far to travel. And as well as we actually have a happy resignation. I think the last one on the list is a current teaching assistant who is resigning for the purpose of beginning her student teaching here in Putnam Valley. So there is a huge chunk of retirees for the purpose of retirement, and they'll be deeply missed, and I thank them for the many years of service, but we also have sort of bookend resignations for other reasons.
Thank you. Crystal, number 2.
Okay, resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of Putnam Valley Middle School teacher Shannon Perino from the district effective December 25th, 2025, as per document 99-26, attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. Number 3, please.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of Putnam Valley Elementary School custodian Carl Danisco from the district for the purpose of retirement, effective the close of business on February 27th, 2026, as per document number 100-26, attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? I'm not sure the elementary school will be able to function without Carl.
Poor Carl.
How long has he been at the elementary school? Do you know?
Since I was there,
Like
way
my-
back when, yeah, I mean,
forever.
it's a long time.
Jeremy, was he there?
Did it say it in his thing? Some of them said how long they were there.
His doesn't, yeah.
I was looking at Liz for hand signals, but I'm not sure. 26-ish years?
Yeah,
Not 30.
got to be pretty close, yeah.
Wow. The institution.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. Number 4, please.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of senior office assistant Catherine Felicia from the district for the purpose of retirement, effective the close of business on July 19th, 2026, as per document number 101-26, attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. Number 5, please.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of custodian Brian Gibbons Jr. from the district for the purpose of retirement effective September 1st, 2026, as per document 102/26 attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments?
He's been here for 24 years.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. Number 5, please.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of teaching assistant Elizabeth Mello from the district for the purpose of retirement, effective the close of business on June 30th, 2026, as per document 103-26 attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. Number 6, please.
Seven.
Wait.
Resolved
7.
on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the
7.
resignation of senior office assistant Gail Orifice from the district for the purpose of retirement, effective the close of business on June 30th, 2026, as per document number 105/26 attached to the agenda and official meetings of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Another one we're going to miss, yeah? Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. Number 8.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of teaching assistant Maria Belenick from the district for the purpose of retirement, effective the close of business on June 30th, 2026, as per document number 106-26 attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes.
9.
9, please.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of theater manager Susan Cummings from the district for the purpose of retirement, effective the close of business on June 30th, 2026, as per document 107/26 attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Boy, that's going to be tough.
Questions or comments?
It's going to be tough shoes to fill. I mean that. That is a position that it just baffles me who we can get to replace Ms. Cummings.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
have to see how it goes.
Likely we will not be able to.
What's that?
Said likely we will not.
I have
It's
to
just
agree
the
with you.
reality of it. So
Yeah.
we're going to have to figure out how to best fulfill the responsibilities in which she's fulfilled for many
Yeah.
years.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The
With regret.
resolution passes. Number 10, please.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of teaching assistant Joanne Papard from the district for the purpose of retirement, effective the close of business on June 30th, 2026, as per document number 108/26 attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, that's another individual that will be very difficult to replace. I'm sure Mr. Odell is crying, and so is Dr. Massera.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. Number 11, please.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of teacher aide Madeline Deegan from the district, effective the close of business on January 23rd, 2026, as per document number 111/26 attached to the agenda and official meeting minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Nothing to do with it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes.
Number 12.
Number 12.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to adopt the 2026-27 school year budget calendar timeline as per document number 98-26 attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? Will this be on the website? Yes. Soon? Thank you.
It's part of the budget page on the website.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. Number 13, please.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the first reading of revisions to Policy 1120 and Policy 1120 regulations as per document 114/26 attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. Okay, I'd like to open it up for public comment on any topic.
Barbara, were you going to read anything?
No, let's wait and see.
Hi, I'm Rebecca McKechnie, longtime resident of the district and a mother of a 9th grader and a 5th grader. So if you'll recall, some concerned parents and I were here at the October meeting asking for you to look into an incident that was very concerning. And after that meeting, you did look into it. I'm talking about a child that is exhibiting a pattern of continuous, unprovoked, violent behavior.
I'm sorry to interrupt. And I'm sure there's going to be others. You guys, you can't speak about other people's children. Speak about your children and their experience. That's totally fine. But I'm just going to ask everyone to refrain from, just like nobody here would want someone to go up and speak about their child.
Of course.
I know we're not using names, but I don't want to be able to sort of even connect dots. So.
Understood.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. So after that, you did address it, and I'm thankful for that. But fast forward a few weeks, and the issue is back again. So I just would ask that something be done, because on the very first day back at school, there was an issue. My child hasn't had an issue yet, but 5 members of our Cub Scout pack have had issues. And every time I see the middle school phone number come up on my phone, my heart is in my throat, because I wonder if today's the day that my child has a run-in. I'm not an administrator, I'm not a teacher, I'm a CPA, so I don't pretend to understand all the rules and regulations that you have to follow. I understand that. And if nothing can be done to get the child the help that they need, then I would at least ask that there's a monitor assigned to shadow and prevent any future opportunities for violence, because the teachers can't do it. They have classes of, 20, 30 students. I understand that. But the kids need to be safe, and I'm very concerned that it's only a matter of time before something serious happens again. That's it.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
So, like all matters, just like last matter, I can assure you that it's being addressed as it always is, and there's always something we can do, and we always do everything within our power to do it. So we handle every situation with a great deal of care and urgency, and the incident you speak of is no different than any others. So it's being handled just like all situations are handled as they emerge. So that's really, I guess, the only promise I can make to the parents that are here this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Many of you are familiar with me. My name is Asad Bayunas. I'm a parent of 2 high schoolers now, one soon-to-be SUNY graduate, who is also a class of 2023 graduate here, and a middle schooler in the 5th grade. And I come before you today not only as a concerned parent of a 5th grader and these 2 high schoolers, but also as a federal administrative judge, whose job includes evaluating and assessing psychological records and mental health issues pertaining to adults as well as children. I draw upon my experiences as a juvenile court prosecutor in Florida, where I served as a division chief handling not only cases involving violent juvenile crimes, but also involving issues of psychological and mental health related to issues pertaining to children in the juvenile delinquency system in South Florida, which is obviously a very different environment than here. I have specialized training in the DSM, the manual put out by the psychiatric community, and a wide variety of issues that come up in child disability cases, as well as issues relating to behavior, depression, anger management, and so forth. Finally, I come to you today also as a concerned Cub Master of Putnam Valley's Cub Scout Pack 53. I'm here tonight in support of a few of our Cub Scout families. So far, as you heard, thank you, Mrs. McKechnie, that 5 of my Cub Scouts, currently in the 5th grade, have been victimized by a very specific child. And I'm not going to go into the details of that or addressing the child itself. Now, you should know that I don't know this child, I don't know his family, so I don't know the situation going on there. But I do know the families of my Cub Scouts. My concern tonight before you has not simply to do with my Cub Scouts and their families that feel that they are in danger every day that they walk into the halls of our middle school, sitting only a few desks away from this child, or being in the same classes where this child has an opportunity to do something which none of our parents would ever wish to think of. But my concern also extends to the well-being of this troubled child. Now, again, I don't know the specific circumstances that this child faces, and I don't think anybody here necessarily does either. And I'm certainly no expert. My training as a judge, my training as a former juvenile prosecutor, and my experience in both of these areas and has taught me that these types of behaviors do not exist in a vacuum, and there's a lot of other issues that may exist. And there's a lot more beneath the surface that we're not privy to. Now, my question to the school board, since a lot of what the school can do is limited by the parents and the families willing to cooperate, and whether they are willing or not is not something I'll get into, but it's the kind of thing that the school only has a limited amount of action they can take. So the question I have is, what else can the school district, the school board, the school administrators do to provide or assist this family and this child to get the services that the child and the family needs? What is the next step? Do we reach out to government resources such as social services or CPS or law enforcement or family court? My suggestion is that there must be some level of action taken by the school beyond simple disciplinary actions which have not resulted in any significant change in behavior, including that there must be some level of action that has to be taken in order to protect our children. Now, just as significant, I know that I'm not certainly in a position to give the school board or parents any kind of legal advice, but as someone who sits in a judicial capacity, it should be noted that at least one family that's been affected in the situation does have the ability and the right to take legal action, both against the school and against that family, because of the injuries suffered by that child. And that child, so you know, was out of school for an entire month.
All right,
Please
no,
don't
you can't.
talk about
Now you're
the
talking about
child.
specifics
This is about
the
the victim's
child.
family, okay? Not the child in question who committed this. This child, and they're here tonight, they can speak as well. Okay, that child was out of school for a month because of the injuries recovering from that incident.
So I'm going to jump in just for a second. I don't want to interrupt you. I'm so glad that you came out to speak tonight, but I am on the policy committee, and in that capacity, I want to remind everyone here tonight of what our policy says about our board meetings. It states in policy 1230 that the board will not permit in public session discussion involving individual district personnel or students. It does not even talk about having to mention a student's name. It is evident that this conversation is about a student, and that is against our policy, so we cannot allow that to happen. If you have a particular experience that you'd like to discuss about your children or your experience with other children of people that are here tonight where they give you permission to be able to speak in that capacity about their child, that is different. But we cannot speak about another child where that child's parents have not given that permission. So I'd ask you to just abide by that policy.
All right, and just to make it clear, I've been actually asked as the Cub Master to come in and speak in support of these families, by these families in particular, which is why I'm not addressing anything specific to that child, because I have no contact with their family. But I've been asked by the families of at least two of the specific families to talk about this. Now, I'll move on to the next issue I was going to raise in terms of this, and this is more of a general issue. As I understand it, there have been several DASA complaints in relation to this incident, and I obviously won't go into the details of that. But the thing that gave me a lot of pause was that the families informed me that they were either told or given the impression that they should withdraw those complaints, and if they didn't, that they would simply be found unfounded. Now, that notion is extremely troubling. If the school district doesn't do its job in protecting these children to the point that the parents have to file complaints with the New York State Department of Education, the thought that the school district would respond by saying it'll probably be unfounded is a major problem. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's what the end result will be, and I sincerely hope it's not. But when a parent tells me this, my first thought as a judge, as a former lawyer, as a parent, the hairs raise up on my neck, that wait, that can't be the case. And when an incident like this happens, the parents are left unsatisfied, and you have to take those complaints in those situations seriously, and you have to investigate them and deal with them impartially and sincerely. coming to it with the perspective of, well, it'll be unfounded, we'll make sure it's unfounded, or something to that extent, makes the parents feel, makes the families feel, these specific families feel like the decision's already been made, and this isn't going to be resolved in a manner that's going to bring them any comfort. However, considering the lack of satisfaction that these victimized families are experiencing, it would not also surprise me if one of them did take legal action, and I'm sure that's something the school board would like to avoid. I urge the school and the administrators of the school to take the situation seriously, to act on DASA complaints generally, sincerely, and to find a way, whether it is through social services, CPS, the courts, whatever, to deal with this situation in a manner that helps provide them with services and helps bring some comfort and services to the families as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to clarify a couple points there, you have my absolute assurance that all DASA claims are taken seriously, investigated, documented, reported. I've never heard of administrator once discourage. In fact, I've only heard administrators encourage parents to fill out DASA forms because it actually gives them a little more strength in their investigation and what they're able to accomplish. So if anyone is ever discouraged from filing a DASA claim by one of my administrators, I would ask that you reach out to me directly and immediately, because that is not something that we would stand for and that should ever be expected here. Second of all, the answer to your earlier question regarding services is absolutely yes. We work extremely closely with all Putnam County services, and if even students who live in Westchester County, with Westchester County service providers. We match up families with counseling. In fact, we offer out-of-district counseling right here in our buildings. So rather than asking families to travel to Carmel to receive free counseling service, we actually have a county-run counseling service right here within our buildings. We open our buildings, we give them space to save Putnam Valley students the time and families from traveling there. So we do all of those things. We match up our families with whatever, any supports that exist, whether it be free supports or whether it be insurance provided supports that are available for them. So yes, we absolutely take all DASA claims seriously, and we investigate them and document them and report them. And services, our clinicians are excellent, and we have people dedicated whose job it is to ensure that families not only receive the services that are available to them during the school day, but that we match them up with appropriate services for them outside the school day. And I'll go back to my previous statement. We're aware of the incident. It's being handled with the utmost care and urgency as we can. The other point is, yes, while we greatly rely on families to cooperate, that's not the be-all, end-all. Right? We have mechanisms and we have things that we can do with or without parent buy-in if the child is presenting certain behaviors within a school. And that's something that we have certainly done many times in the past. So while we always look to partner with families and we want to find a solution that works for everyone, it's not, a family doesn't have the option to just simply say no and leave us helpless. That's not the case. And we do have other legal ways in which we can accomplish what we need to do for that student and for the students in the school. So I think I addressed all of yours. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Name's Joe Ferraro, and I wanted recently, Governor Hochul signed into law a new tax reduction act that allowed municipalities, and I'm assuming school boards, the same ability to reduce to increase the exemption from what is currently 50% of the assessed value of their home if they fit into particular financial circumstances. And the new law that was passed allows it to go from 50 to 65%. So what I wanted to, I've not been able to find anywhere the timeline for when towns, counties, and school boards are able to then elect to allow those increases, because I know we went from 35 to 45. It was a staggered amount, then finally got to the max of 50 while I was still on the board. I wonder what the plan may or may not be for getting up to 65%. But then I would really like to know what the tax dollar shift would be based on the current exemption rate. So if we already know how many people are filing for those exemptions, for that specific senior exemption, what the addition of going up another 5 or 10 or 15%, what that shift would be for everyone else, because that's important for, I mean, as much as a town or a county might want to be able to do what's been allowed by, and it would be unpopular to not go up to the max, but at the same time, what that means for everybody else if you do that. So that's one thing. On a lighter note, I think the Susie Cummings and Joanne Papard leaving at the same time, I call shenanigans and conspiracy theories on that, because that's really a big deal for the arts area. So I want to leave on a lighter note for that.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
I was going to try to do that math real fast for the exemption. No idea.
Okay. Presentations for upcoming meetings?
So our next meeting is scheduled in next year. So our next meeting will be January 8th, 2026, and we'll be doing our multi-year financial planning presentation. So that'll be facilitated by Dr. Chen. And then the meeting after that, January 22nd, will be our budget/opening of schools presentation. If you remember, we combined those two for athletics and technology. So those are our 2 January meetings upcoming.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Board member comments.
I have just 2 things. I want to echo what you said, Barbara, about the Spotlight Awards. I actually met 3 parents over the past weekend at various town events that were being held here, and they were so prideful over the fact that their child had received this recognition. And one parent very poignantly said, "You know, Sam, my child had never been recognized for anything, and it just made her day and wowed her." And that really moved me, and I love the idea of the spotlight. And I hope that tradition continues. The other thing is, I don't know how many of you are aware that we have a PTSA, a Parent Teacher Student Association, representing the high school. Dr. Chan and myself attended their first meeting of the year, and they are, a lot of people think they're defunct. They're not. They're still here, but they certainly could use membership in that organization. And I would love to see the amount of people who sign up for it continue to do so. They are on our webpage, I believe, PTSA, and they're affiliated with the national PTA movement, but they're a separate entity. You have the PTA for the middle and the elementary, and the Parent Teacher Student Association for the high school. And both organizations, PTA, PTSA, are there to service the students, to provide activities and various events. I think it's worthy, but I was shocked to see that the membership is nowhere near what the PTA membership is. And I know that as students get older, parents kind of back off a little bit. Kids are going to take care of themselves, but the PTSA is an important component.
There's also a lot of scholarships that PTSA offers, or a couple, I should say, not a lot, but a few. And you have to be a member of the PTSA to be eligible to receive a scholarship or to
That's
apply
right.
for
That's
it.
correct.
So.
That is correct. Yeah.
And did you get the notice about the meeting from?
I received it from Maureen. Maureen posted it. Yeah.
So
I wasn't aware.
The day of?
I'll be honest. I thought they no longer existed. I remember when Ray Cooper, the very first principal at the high school, formulated it, and he wanted a PTSA because he wanted the students involved. He said at this level the students should have a voice in, what's going on, and over time, the importance of this organization, I think, the involvement just wasn't there, and they're trying to bring it back. The president and some of the other individual officers of the organization that were there that evening when Dr. Jan and I met with them. But it's a worthy organization. I'd love to see the membership increase.
Okay.
It'd be great to get information about the meeting prior to the meeting.
Yeah.
It'd be great to get information about the meeting at PTA and PTSA prior to those meetings.
Yeah, I know. They need to send that out. But Maureen did.
Yeah.
To make sure that we get it. Good. That's great.
Great.
Thank you, Maureen.
Okay.
That's all.
It would also be nice if they sent, the board, even an invitation to join. Like I never saw, at the elementary school,
No.
I was there for several things and there were people
Exactly.
there signing up, but I never saw anything from the high school, so I just didn't know about it, so, but that'd be good. Okay, anything else?
Go ahead.
I just have something short. As a mom and a nurse who spends so much time advocating for her patients, I just want to say that you are advocating for your child, and I think it's wonderful, and that people should continue to advocate for their children. As a school board member, I do trust the process, and there are a lot of things behind closed doors that even ourselves aren't privy to. But the district, in my view, what I've seen, does take things seriously. And I just want to encourage people to continue to advocate for their children. Thank you. And say thank you for your words.
Two pieces. I just want to comment on the reason why I felt the need to read the policy. Our job is to protect all children and all staff members. And we have these rules in place to make sure that the privacy of any child or staff member is never violated. We would never let that happen to your child, and we would never let it happen to anyone else's. And so I just want to make that clear. It's not that we're not listening or wanting to hear from you. It's that we have an obligation, and myself, I have an obligation sitting on the policy committee to make sure that our policy, which is our law, is properly enforced. So I just wanted to make that clear. On a lighter note, I am very excited about this Tuesday's concert because Ms. Jocelyn Krause has invited the community to play Jingle Bells with all of the students. And so we have a group of like 8 people that are going to be playing Jingle Bells with the students, and I'm so excited about it.
I'm getting added to that. Somebody is giving me a stick of bells.
That is wonderful. And Dr. Luft, I did
I'm so
volunteer you to
excited.
play Triangle at some point, or Jingle Bells alongside Daniel Hernandez.
Can I at least do the cowbell? A little more
Sure.
cowbell?
I do
That's
clave.
more my speed.
Well, at the 7th and 8th grade concert, they did a pentatonic song, and they were
Yeah.
doing sound effects on their laps and touching the people. That's like, oh my gosh, it was just actually amazing. It was really
It was.
very good.
Kudos
All
to our
of them
music
were great.
program.
All
for
of them.
They're amazing concerts. Concert season is always fun.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to say thank you again to all of you for
Please,
Just Ms. Rafi, come up to the mic,
because
please.
otherwise people can't hear you.
People at home just hear her voice. It sounds like the wizard.
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for your support. And as some of the parents that were here and already left, and others that wanted to come and couldn't make it, we're just concerned because more and more incidents have been happening after what happened originally. And I already informed the parent, and she will contact you about that DASA comment because it did happen. But we're just concerned, and like she said, we're just worried when we get that phone call, is it going to happen again? Because more and more students are being affected. So we just wanted to bring it to your attention again.
Thank you.
Okay, we don't meet again until next year. Oh my gosh.
Next year,
2026.
next year. Happy
So
holidays to
I hope everybody has a safe December and
Yeah.
profitable New Year.
Yes.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everyone.
Absolutely.